Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS slate breakdown for Monday, January 22nd. We are back. We are breaking down the 7-game slate. I think it's an interesting one and we will get into it all. But before we do, come join us at LionStar. We got 4 promo offers right down there I want to bring your attention to. You can get up to 1 free month of LionStar if you are a new customer to Parlay Play, Sleeper, Underdog, or Chalkboard. Now, before we get into it, or let's just get into it. Let's go. All right, so 7-gamer here. There is some news to follow just before coming on. Anthony Edwards got downgraded to questionable, so that's one spot we absolutely do need to watch throughout the day. We already have Mike Conley out for Minnesota, and if they lose Edwards too, there's going to be some interesting spots to go for sure. Not to mention, this total will also come down, or the spread will come down quite a bit. All right, let's get into the slate here. So we got Manuel Quickley, 33% owned. I personally think this is a little bit too high. I don't mind Quickley. I don't mind the price. Don't love the spot. So they're 7-point favorites with a 225 game total. But my issue here is the Grizzlies are just absolutely terrible, and not only are they terrible, they're just also not that fast of a pace game. And with the recent trade of the Raptors, there's no Siakam, and I think that's actually hurting Quickley a little bit. So that is one of the reasons. With everybody going there, I found reasons I don't really love it. Without Siakam, he's only averaging a little over 0.8 fantasy point per minute. Whereas as a starter, he's been 1.04. Now, I don't expect 0.8 to continue. I expect that to be a little bit higher, but I don't know if he's a 0.1 or 1.04 fantasy per minute player as a starter. So with everybody going there, I'm hopping off a little bit on this spot. Jaden Ivey, don't mind him, 21% owned. Look, without Cade Cunningham, he is an absolute beast, and the offense runs through him. If they have a hope of keeping this game close, it is going to be because of Ivy or Bogdanovich. One of the things we've seen with Milwaukee is they haven't been blowing teams out, and especially blowing them out early. So I'm not shying away too much from the blowout here, but I also don't totally love the spot. Tyrese Maxey is a spot I am getting to. It is versus the Spurs. Spurs haven't been great. The 76ers on the other side, they have been very good, and they have been blowing out guys. So there is some blowout risk here. But I do like Maxey's spot without Melton. He is like a 1.25 fantasy point per minute guy, and you add in, going against the Spurs and that boost they get for point guards, and it's a real interesting spot for Maxey. 9K I think is pretty pricey for him, but he can get into the 50s even with Embiid there. So I don't hate it, don't love it. I'm getting to probably a little more than I should at this point. Other guys I like, Coby White. I don't think he should be going this low owned. It's a very, very good spot versus the Suns. Suns have not been good versus point guard. Ranked 30th in fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. So I like the spot a lot for White. There's no Zach LaVine. The usage goes up quite a bit without LaVine, and this is the clear spot that the Bulls are going to want to attack. They're going to want to attack with Coby White. Next, Derek White. There's no Kristaps Porzingis, so I'm intrigued to go to Derek White. I think Derek White gets one of the bigger bumps on the team without Porzingis, and in a decent spot versus the Mavericks, who do allow some high-scoring games, and we got a 239 total, and it's a close total. The one thing is they are playing a back-to-back here. Now, that hasn't really hurt White, but I do think it's an interesting spot and something to at least take notice here. Next, we got Bradley Beal. So on the other side of Coby White, you could run it back with Bradley Beal. 7.1K I don't think is too much. I would really like this if he was priced in the sixes, but the upside is here, and if I'm attacking the Bulls, I'm going to probably attack through the shooting guard. I don't mind the spot here versus the Bulls. And let's get over to DraftKings. High-owned DraftKings point guards. We got Jaden Ivey, Luke Kennard, and Scotty Barnes. Ivy, we've been over. 6.7K is too cheap, though, on DK, so I absolutely get why that's high-owned. Luke Kennard, look, he's 5.4K. He's going to get the minutes. With him starting, he's been right around 30. Don't mind going back here. I just don't love it. I just don't see him really getting a 40-point ceiling. Can he get to 30? Can he give you 6x? Yes. I just don't think there's a lot on top of that is there for Kennard. Now, he is a guy that can get hot shooting and do really well, but that's not a normal thing. Scotty Barnes, like the Raptors in general, are not as good without Pascal Siakam. Barnes is no exception to that. He hasn't been as good without Siakam on the court. It's like 1.18 fantasy point per minute without Siakam. But his price is reasonable, and he does have, that 60-point upside and has those games. So I don't hate going there with Scotty B today versus a team that he could absolutely demolish. This Grizzly team right now with all their injuries is just awful. And matchups. We got Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Maxey, and Booker. All of which I'm fine. I don't think this is a spot for Booker to attack. Maxey I like. Donovan Mitchell I do like. I just think he's a bit pricey at 10.2K. But the ceiling is there if he really gets it going. I just don't think this is likely where he gets it going. I don't mind going Lillard. I think he's in a very good spot. I just am kind of going to other spots on this Milwaukee team right now. But if you want to go there, by all means do it. It is a very good spot, and he could get there. Now on to shooting guard. High owned, we got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Emmanuel Quickley, and Luke Kennard. All are right around 30% or higher owned. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, look, there's no Mike Conley. He's only 4,400. Makes a ton of sense to me to go there. So he wasn't good as a starter when he was starting as, a shooting guard or a small forward. But I think if he starts today, it's going to be a point guard. And in this matchup, I'm very intrigued by that. And definitely am going to be getting to a decent amount of nod. Now, do understand that there is a chance that he doesn't start. It could be somebody else, but I would say he is expected to. The other thing to watch here is if Anthony Edwards is out. If Anthony Edwards is out, he definitely gets a big bump up, and I would say he's pretty much a must start at that point. And then Kyle Anderson would be extremely interesting as well. Emmanuel Quickley we went over. Kennard we went over. Chris Middleton. Look, this is likely where I'm going to go to a lot for the Bucks. It's a guy that's been right around that 40 fantasy point mark a ton lately. His minute restriction's kind of gone. We have him at 32 minutes. He's played 33 last game. He's been around that 33, 34 in most games here. And as long as it's not a total blowout, and I do think he has the worst risk for blowout. If it is a blowout, they tend to have their kid gloves on Middleton way before, most of their other starters. So there is major risk here, but I do like the spot for Middleton, and I think his price is still just a bit too low for the ceiling and even medium projection that he can do. So I do like Middleton. I like Derek White. We talked about that. Vince Williams for the Grizzlies. Look, he's 6.7K. He's expensive, but I'm okay going back there. I think this is a decent game to use him. His usage has gone way higher with all these guys out. He can shoot the ball. If he gets on a little bit of a roll, I think it's kind of interesting to go with Vince Williams. Do I love it? No. But it is a low-owned pivot spot that I don't mind. We also have Malik Beasley here. Look, right now there's not a ton of value on the table, and Beasley is a spot that is cheap. He's getting minutes. Don't mind going there, especially at lower ownership for a guy that can, get into the 40s fantasy point wise if he's playing well and doing well. When that happens, he tends to get some extra minutes, and he gets a couple extra minutes and real good things can happen. So I don't mind going there with Beasley at low ownership in a spot that he can absolutely do well. On to shooting guard at DraftKings. We got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden Ivey, and Luke Kennard. Talked about them all. Moving over to matchups. Derek White is on the top of it. Kelly Oubre and Max Strus. Don't mind going to Oubre. I do think the 76ers team is going to get it done. I think Embiid is an extremely good spot, but if Embiid doesn't get there, it's likely going to be, say, Maxey and Oubre or Oubre and Harris, some sort of combination of two guys getting there. The Spurs just let so many points on the board that I would not be surprised if one or two 76ers is in optimal or a winning lineup tonight. Max Strus, don't mind going there. I just wish his price was a little bit lower. And small forward, we got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jaden McDaniel, and John Konchar. Jaden McDaniels is just kind of whatever to me. He's not that cheap. Well, he's somewhat cheap, and he's playing minutes, so you can do kind of the same thing that I was thinking with Malik Beasley. Like, he could potentially get there. I just don't think his upside is there with Beasley, and so I'm just going to Beasley more. John Konchar is a spot that I don't mind going value-wise. He started the last two games, played 27 minutes, only 4,100. He's in this terrible Memphis versus Toronto game. I don't hate going there as a value option. Now, pivot spots, Kyle Anderson. Now, we will need to look at news here because I don't think he starts. If he starts, I absolutely love the spot. If he's coming off the bench, his price is just a little bit high to really, really get there. But watch throughout the day. If there's any news about him playing, a few extra minutes, I think he becomes interesting. Malik Beasley, DeMar DeRozan. Look, I don't mind attacking with DeRozan. I think he's still priced too cheap, 8.2K for a guy that can give you 50. No Zach LaVine. His usage goes up without LaVine. I think that either White or DeRozan get it done today. The two of them usually don't kind of get it done together, so that's one worry, and I would maybe try not to have the two of them on the same team too much, but I think one of them is going to get there, and just not totally sure which one. I think the path is a little bit easier for White, though. Bojan, look, Jaden Ivey is super high owned. Bojan is much lower owned, cheaper, has, same upside, just not as consistent to get there. I don't mind going with Bogdanovich, but just understand that, he's a GPP play. If he's feeling it and he's hitting his shots, he can get you 50, but his most likely is, right around 30, maybe mid-30s. Brandon Miller. Look, this is a guy that I keep going back to. I feel like I have talked about him almost every show for I don't know how long, with how many injuries the Hornets have had and his role and how well he's been playing. But we have back-to-back perfect lineups for him, 35 minutes in both of them. The guy can shoot and do a lot of different things with the ball. They are likely super short on big men, so, PJ Washington is going to be starting at center, and they're going to need him to play the 3/4 quite a bit today. I don't mind going here whatsoever, and I actually like it. Hopefully he can follow up another 40 burger. I'm shocked his price is still down. All right, small forward on DraftKings. Kyle Anderson, RJ Barrett. 6,900 RJ Barrett's probably a little too cheap here on DraftKings versus Memphis, where he can absolutely torch them. Been living right around 40, and he has a high ceiling if he really gets it rolling. So makes sense to me there. And matchup wise, Vince Williams, RJ Barrett, Jaden McDaniels, Tobias Harris, Brandon Miller, all of which I like. On to power forward, we got Jaden McDaniels, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jason Tatum, Scotty Barnes. Jaden, we went over. Jaren Jackson, look, it is up to him these days. He's been living in the 40-point range. We know he can get up to 50s with blocks and steals and whatnot, so I don't mind going there whatsoever. He's taken a lot of shots, and this is a guy that can absolutely produce on a fantasy spot, so I don't mind going to Jaren Jackson. News-wise, I think Karl Anthony Towns is interesting. I do have Anthony Edwards in right now, so I like him as it is right now. But if Edwards is out, I love Cat. So just pay attention to that news, because that will be interesting. Now, if that happens, Cat is going to be one of the highest owned guys on the slate as well. But I do like the spot for Cat. Bojan, we talked about already, and on to power forward on DraftKings. Kyle Anderson, Naz Reid, Jaren Jackson, all of which we pretty much covered. Naz Reid, to me, is just, I don't mind going there, but no big men are out, so it's just, hope he lights it up on the second unit type thing. Don't love it. Power forward matchups, Giannis, Kevin Durant, Nick Batum, Jason Tatum. I do like attacking with Durant or Beal on the Suns versus the Bulls. Batum is fine. Tatum, I'm not quite getting there, but I don't hate it. Bridges is fine. And Giannis, I'm just going other places right now. And on to center. Highest owned guys, Jaren Jackson and Cat, with Al Horford coming in right behind them. Look, Jaren, I love. We went over it. I like Cat and Al Horford. 5,700, he's not getting the love I think he should. Kristaps Porzingis is out. I think he's going to be a factor, and I'm getting to quite a bit of him right now. Low-owned pivot that I got, I do really like Joel Embiid, but with the issue of not a ton of value, I'm having a trouble getting him into lineups with lineups that I like. So therefore, I'm just not getting much Embiid right now, but I do really like him at low ownership in a spot where he could absolutely go nuts. He's definitely intriguing. But the pivot, Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez has been crushing. It's been around that 40-point range a ton lately, and he is a guy that has a little bit of a ceiling. Don't hate going there in a fast game, which versus Pistons team that's not great towards the center. And DraftKings, Joel Embiid, Naz Reid, Jaren Jackson, top of the mark. On DK, there's much more value on this slate. As I said, I do like Embiid. 11.54 is fine. I think he gets there. I think there's very high likelihood he's in the 60, 70 fantasy point range, and it's a score you might need to have. Matchup tool, Brook Lopez on the top, Derek Lively right underneath it. I wish Lively was a little bit cheaper. He does intrigue me, but I think he's a little bit too cheap in this spot. Joel Embiid, Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is not as good without Conley, so I don't love this spot for him, but Charlotte sucks for center, and Gobert can absolutely put up 50 versus them, so I am intrigued by him still. All right, guys, that will do it for us today. Please give me a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment below. Hope you guys have a good one. Good luck today. Let's make some money. Adios.